Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Eeyore, and this is Kingdom Death Monsters. And I should drink some water. Alright. Get the scratchiness out of my throat. Alright, so settlement phase. Heal all the bullshit. We're going to deal with that later. We get 4 endeavors. 3 from the 3 survivors, and +1 because of Remelia's Tinker. And then we get an additional 2 when we update the death count. So we'll deal with that in a bit. So in total, we'll probably end up with 6. But since we don't get the benefit from Graves until after you update the death counts, we'll deal with the settlement event first. So let's see how that goes. So 1d20, 7. I hope that's a lucky number for us. Well, it's different. Let me do this properly so I can mark it. There we go. The settlement calls out to the returning survivors in a chorus of unknown tongues. Each survivor in the settlement begins to speak in their own incomprehensible language until all the sounds of the settlement are replaced with never-ending babble. Nominate 1 survivor. Okay. Who should we nominate then? Maybe Letty? Let's nominate Letty. I think that's so yeah, I'll nominate. Does it have to be a returning survivor? No, it just says nominate 1 survivor. So we'll nominate Letty. 1d10. 7. The wave of the madness passes for some, but not all. The nominated survivors gains the endless babble impairment. When you depart, departing survivors gain +1 insanity. You may not encourage. So she loses the ability to encourage, but she does get endless babble. There we go. Good news is we didn't lose any endeavors, so there's that. Lingering effects prevents science endeavors, not that that matters. We don't have any endeavors that involve these, so we should be okay. And if we had pictographs, we can do some fancy stuffs, and we can spend 2 resources to deep listen. And you can make it so departing survivors get +1 movement tokens, which is not bad. But I don't think it's worth it. I'd rather just make babies. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and continue. We update the death count now. So we'll go ahead and get our 2 additional endeavors for Sakia's death. And yeah, so that happened. So I still haven't named our newest survivor, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and knock this down to 1, 1, and 4. And Sakia, you go bye-bye. Save changes. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the upcoming battle, which is going to be against the Butcher. Here is his image. Yep, he is ripping the faces off of people and stretching them across a bunch of lanterns. There once was a man who could not hide his fear. He wore a mask that transformed his cowardice to rage. In turn, the man transformed into a monster. All that remained was a devouring fury that stalked the night, collecting the fearful faces of others. If we get defeated, he will rampage through our place and wreck our stuff and essentially take away all of our resources that we have in storage. So one way or another, we're going to be spending everything before this fight, just in case. But first things first, let's go ahead and spend a monster organ, a pelt, and a monster bone, and 1 endeavor, and we're going to go ahead and do some science. Alright, so we do have Symposium. So with this, we can now roll quite a bit of extra stuff, and I actually have not bothered to add the Symposium problems. So let's go fix that. Innovations. Symposium. This should be adding Nightmare and yeah, we didn't. I forgot to do that. My bad. Storytelling. So there's storytelling. And the other one was Nightmare Training. There we go. All right, so yeah, it's going to be 4D. Let's see, 4D10. Reroll any duplicates. No duplicates. We got Lantern Oven, Inner Lantern, Pictographs, and Storytelling. Now, on the calendar, I'm going to go ahead and point out one thing. Year 5, we get Hands of Heat, which is an event where you actually discover Lantern Oven for free. But if there is a chance that if you roll bad, it can cause some very annoying things to happen. You'll still get the Lantern Oven, but some annoying stuff can happen. But if you happen to get Lantern Oven ahead of time, you'll instead trigger some slightly different events, which will cause less issues. So, I'm going to probably go for Lantern Oven, but I'll go ahead and show off the ones that we did pick up. So obviously there's Lantern Oven. This will give us additional departing survival, which we actually kind of need. Storytelling, which is under Symposium. That's you can get some resources to get some understanding, get some survival insanity. You can also trigger the White Speaker story event, which can be awesome. There's also some storytelling consequences, which are pretty fancy. Besides that, there's also Inner Lantern, which we've already gone over. It gets a Surge, which is very tempting because that would definitely help a lot against the Butcher. But I'm kind of assuming the worst when it comes to the Butcher at this point. And then Pictographs. Pictographs is actually a pretty interesting option. What this does is it gives us the ability to run away, which means we can potentially run away from a battle and not lose 4 people, which is pretty amazing. But with all that said and done, I mean, Pictographs can also get you access to some pretty fancy stuff as well. But I'm going to go ahead and get Lantern Oven. That way we don't have to worry about the Hands of Heat event screwing us. This will also give us an additional departing survival, which will be pretty useful. And then, of course, there are Lantern Oven consequences, so we're going to have to add those in. Lantern Oven consequences is cooking and scrap smelting. So pretty fancy stuff. Also, when you hit 5 innovations, this will trigger a story event. So we have 5 innovations now. That includes language. And yeah, we can now officially start this madness. So this is going to cause what's called the Hooded Knight to show up. Here's the image for the Hooded Knight. I'm pretty sure it's the guy with the sword. A stranger emerges from the darkness. If any survivor has the Twilight Sword, they duel the knight. Otherwise, his motives are inscrutable. Roll below on Mistress and Jinda below. So let's roll a 1d10 and see what happens. 4. The Hooded Knight insists on training the uncouth survivors in martial combat. Up to 2 survivors may spend 3 resources each to learn Mighty Strike fighting art. The Hooded Knight leaves with unfinished business and will return later. So unfinished business means we add this again 4 years from now. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll add that 4 years from now. That will be year 8. So the Hooded Knights, they're known as the Twilight Knights or something like that, and they are part of some sort of order that tried to maintain knowledge or something like that. They're very, at least from what I've read bits and pieces here and there, but they're also kind of weird to say the least. But they are pretty much badasses, and if we had rolled a little bit higher, we would have gotten one person would have gotten the Twilight Sword, and the Twilight Sword starts out pretty weak. But well, it starts out strong, but it has a lot of limitations, and those limitations gradually turn into perks if you practice with it enough. And if you have that sword, when he comes back, you have to duel him, and that could potentially get your character killed or get some bonuses and all that good stuff. But this time around, he's just offering to teach some people some fighting arts. Now, Mighty Strike's pretty awesome. It's especially what it does is whenever you do a perfect hit, you get +2 strength for the rest of the attack. So you notice I mentioned sometimes we get perfect hits. A lot of times that doesn't do anything for us, but in this case, if we have Mighty Strike, it would. And to be honest, 3 resources for Mighty Strike when I have so much spare resources is probably a good thing, a good trade. Once again, we don't have any hide, which is so bad for us. But we'll see what we can make do with at the moment. So yeah, I can do this. Well, I guess I'm supposed to make the decision now, but I guess I'll just plan out my stuff and assume I do it in order because that's just a bit easier. I'd rather not pause the video or leave you guys wondering. So we'll just deal with that first. Okay, so resources wise, we need to figure out what we're going to do. There's the weapon crafter. I keep looking at this. Oops, sorry. And I mean, we can get access to skullcap hammers. That can help. Zanpakuto is pretty good, but we don't have enough hides. So yeah, we can get access to skullcap hammers at this point. So that might be worthwhile. Beyond that, the only other thing that's pretty interesting is getting the stone circle. But once again, that takes hide, and we have 1 hide on us right now. The stone circle has access to some pretty unique stuff like the blood paint. But it looks like we're not going to be able to take advantage of it, despite the fact we have paint. They do have the Screaming set, which is essentially a set of armor that you make with the Screaming Antelope set, or materials. So there is that, I guess. But yeah. So let's go ahead and do the default. I'm going to go ahead and spend 3 bones, 1 hide, 1 endeavor, and we're going to get ourselves a weapon crafter. Even if we're not using it now, it'll be useful later. Because one way or another, we're going to spend all our resources, because I'm going to assume that we're going to lose against the Butcher. That's the safest thing to think of. He's pretty crazy. Like, literally crazy. And he also tends to get a lot of actions. He's all over the place. He's just really hard to handle. So we got our weapon crafter, so that's good. And with this, we can go ahead and spend a bunch of our resources to get some of those skullcap hammers. So let's take a look at the skullcap hammer. It's nothing too crazy, but it will definitely help. Actually, it'll probably be really useful against the Butcher, to come to think of it. So let's take a look at that. Skullcap hammer. It's 2 speed, 7 accuracy, and 3 strength, so it's about as good as the Lion Spear. But it has the effect on a perfect hit. The monster will get -1 speed until end of turn. Also, the skullcap hammer would give us additional luck for beating up a certain antelope, so we can get more materials. So, at the very least, let's go ahead and spend 2 bones, like so, and 1 scrap, and that will get us our skullcap hammer. Oh wait, undo that, undo all of that. Undelete, undelete. We have heat. We have heat now, because the lantern oven. With that, we can get some pretty fancy stuff. If we go to the organ grinder, we can get ourselves the monster tooth necklace. It gives +1 strength, and if you have 2 red affinities, you get another +1 strength. So yeah, +2 strength as just an accessory is pretty awesome. And we also get access to the weapon crafter's scrap weapons, which is the scrap sword, which is 5 accuracy, 3 strength. On perfect hits, it gets +4 strength, and if you happen to get 2 red affinities and a blue, you can get deadly. Scrap dagger, kind of the same idea. Not as accurate, not as strong, but on perfect hits, it gets +2 strength. So yeah, pretty fancy stuff there. So let's see what we need for that. Sorry if I'm a little all over the place. I want to voice my plans here because that's important. Where is the settlement locations? There it is. Weapon crafter. So for a scrap sword, it is 2 bone, 1 scrap. You got yourself a deal. And then, so that'll get us a scrap sword, which it doesn't break. That's the key thing as well, is it doesn't freaking break. So, yeah, it's not fragile or anything like that. It is metal, which can have some other effects, but that's not a big deal. So, yeah, scrap sword. So now we can actually have a proper sword that doesn't break. Sword. So we'll go ahead and add that to the list. Good stuff. I still kind of want the skullcap hammer, at least 1 for now, but getting scrap can be a little bit difficult. But we definitely don't need 2 swords. So, but we can get, if we go to Organ Grinder, we can spend a bone and a scrap. So 1 bone, 1 scrap, and get ourselves a monster tooth necklace. Get ourselves as strong as possible. So, monster tooth. Monster tooth necklace, there we go. Not too shabby. Okay, so something like this. The biggest issue we're going to have with the butcher is multifold. One was we don't have bandages. The other issue is we don't have bandages, and the other issue is we only have 1 person with armor. So that's going to be fun times for everybody. But whoever's using this scrap sword is going to have himself a good time because he's going to have some of this, some of that, and this. So with this, this meets all the requirements for the deadly. So the scrap sword it also meets all the requirements for the monster tooth necklace. So this means this weapon in total has 5 strength as a base. 3 from the weapon, 2 from the monster tooth necklace, which is pretty good. It means we can essentially wound the butcher on 4s. And if we get any perfect hits, we will wound the butcher on 2s. Because 1s are always fails. The deadly isn't really that important, to be honest, because there's not really any locations you can crit on the butcher. More than likely, we're going to throw fodder at this boss, so just look forward to that, I guess. But yeah, that I think is a good trade. We don't have any scrap left now, which is a little disappointing, but it's not the end of the world. I'm trying to see what else we can possibly make. We can make a bunch of monster grease, which will just kind of give us some additional defenses. That's about it. The Canthus plant we can also turn into an herb. Let's go ahead and burn we'll go ahead and burn the love juice, and go ahead and do an intimacy. It'll be Patchel, it'll be Mei-Ling, and some unnamed. So 2d10. That is we get 2s. We get a pair of children. So we get 2 more characters. That didn't cost any endeavors because that was an item. So population, edit, 6, 3, 3. So we're going to have ourselves a nice little a bunch of characters here. So that's awesome. We're up to 16 now. Alright, from here, so we have uses for the scrap, which is great, but we still have quite a bit to go through. So what else can we work with? I mean, I don't want to just throw away all these items for just, fodder and stuff, but we might have to at this point. What we do have, because if we lose the fight, we're going to lose all these items anyway. So there's not much we can do about it. Let's go ahead and do the fresh acanthus, which is going to get us a dried acanthus, which can be used to save us from save someone from potential death. Beyond that, we can also, let's go ahead and see what we can get organ-wise, I guess. Where's our freaking settlement locations? It's either that or I start working towards getting whistling maces. Those aren't that great. I'll go ahead and point that out. So whistling mace, 6 accuracy, on perfect hit, reveal the next AI card and place it on the top or bottom of the AI deck, and it's unwieldy. If any attack rolls result are a 1, you hit yourself and suffer 1 damage. Not the best. I'd rather not hurt myself. But I can't make anything else because everything else requires hide. I can scavenge. If I scavenge, there's a chance I can get some Broken Lantern resources. So let's see what we can do with that. Anyone got courage? Letty, you have 2 survival. So let's go ahead and hook you up. So we're going to go ahead and spend a endeavor to scrap scavenge. So 1d10. 8. That gets us a Broken Lantern resource. Awesome. So we now have a scrap. Alright, so with that scrap we can go ahead and spend 2 bones to get ourselves a skullcap hammer. So now we have a club, which we can use for the antelope later on. Okay. And then, so we're down to 3 endeavors. Now, if we can get 1 more scrap, we can get another Monster Tooth necklace and kind of use that for additional fun stuff. That wouldn't be too shabby. 1 character is obviously going to be support. That's not a big deal. But yeah, we can I don't think we have, actually we don't have very many options left now. We would need to get some stuff that would connect to other directions. Would a dagger do it? A dagger would do it. Well, in any case, I still kind of want to get 1 scrap. So let's go ahead and do do this again. We'll use Letty. That is a 9. Holy crap, that's a bit overkill. 9 is still a Broken Lantern resource, so we got another one. So we'll go ahead and use that and a bone to get another Monster Tooth necklace. So now we have 2 of them. Now we have 2 of them, when I actually pick the right thing. Someone who gets this will probably not get the additional +1 strength, but it's still better than nothing. With that being said and done, all we have left is a bunch of organs. So we're just going to go ahead and spend those. Well, we got 2 more endeavors. Making sure I'm doing the math here. We had 6 endeavors. Spent 1 on Innovate. Spent 1 to build Weapon Crafter. We spent 2 on scrapping. Okay, so yeah, we have 2 left. Alright, we're going to go ahead and do some auguries. Anyone? Rumia. Rumia, you can go ahead and do some auguries. So, 1d10. Nothing. 1d10. Intimacy. So we'll go ahead and do another 2d10. Once again, it's going to be mailing and some nameless person. That is another +1 population. Okay. So our population is now 17, which is probably going to be good because it's about to go down very quickly. And we're about to assemble freaking Team 9 to fight the Butcher here. Because I'm not going to send anyone with stats. I mean, it'd probably be wise, but we're not going to. Alright. But the good news is we do have a bunch of materials. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do with the ant. We can't get rid of it. But what we can do is go ahead and, well, technically we can consume this. Archive this to swap your insanity and survival values. Not that concerned about it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get rid of the Screaming Brain. Bladder Beefsteak, that is 3 organs. and we're just going to go and make a bunch of stuff. Let's get ourselves a, I don't know, a lucky stone. Or lucky charm. That's one organ. And then let's get ourselves a monster grease. So now we have a second monster grease. And the last one, let's see. We could get a fecal salve. It's not the most pleasant of items, but it is there. Yeah, I think I'd rather have a monster grease. It's also stinky, so that's an issue. Well, so is monster grease, so I guess there's not really much you can do about it. Anyway, here's a monster grease. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this will give us a little bit of additional evasion. It's probably not going to save anyone, but it's better than nothing. And having said all this, and saying I was probably going to take a break, I kind of want to go fight the Butcher. So let's go ahead and get this formed up. Sorry it's been a long video. There's a lot of stuff I had to plan out. Oh, actually, I could have got some people Mighty Strike. I completely forgot about that. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of the 2 monster grease. I'll go ahead and get the lucky charm. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get the lucky charm. Instead of getting monster grease, I'm going to use those 2 resources and this lonely ant. And I'm going to go ahead and teach. Who do I want to teach, though? You're traumatized. Alice is broken. I'm going to get Rumelia Mighty Strike. She might die. That's fine. I'm not that concerned about it. So there you go. Mighty Strike. And there we go. So yeah, 3 resources to get Mighty Strike. For those who forgot, it was because of the Twilight Night event. Alright, with that said and done, we're going to probably take some nameless mooks to go fight whatever's left. Actually, what I can send is people that are already officially broken. So, let's get Kokuma. Yeah, Kokuma, she can take the, she can take a scrap sword. In fact, she will probably be, yeah, sure, why not? There you go, here's your scrap sword. You're gonna sit this one out, Rumelia. You're kind of important. Not that it's really gonna save your life or anything. Rumia is also kind of broken. Shattered Jaw cannot gain a survival. Alice isn't entirely broken. She just has a Shattered Jaw. And Letty... Honestly, I want to send Letty, because Letty's going to have Endless Babble, which will give everyone +1 insanity, which will be important. So, yeah, it looks like we'll be sending these people, which is fine. It will make them targets, and they'll probably die, but I think they'll do okay. I mean, at least they won't have 0 experience. Alright, so I can send all those. Letty it's not leveled up yet. Yeah, she didn't level up yet. Rumia and Kokuma. I don't really want to deal with Traumatized, so I'm definitely expecting to get wrecked. Kokuma does have +1 evasion, though. In fact, I completely forgot that Kokuma has +1 evasion. Wow. Oh well, it didn't really make a difference. So that's noted. So she has the Monster Grease, got that. That'll give her a total of 3 evasion, so that's not too shabby. And then she's got the Scrap Sword and all that good stuff. We'll send one person that's going to have a bow and the arrow. We'll send another character that's going to have the guitars, I guess. You can have a skullcap hammer. The cloth isn't that big of a deal. You can have that, I guess. And the lucky charm is not going to do anything, but you can carry it. like so. Okay. So I'll find a fourth person to take on. Well, I mean, I guess I can bring Lily White. Lily White doesn't have anything special. So there you go. Lily White will go. She just has +1 understanding. Not a big deal. Okay. So yeah, if we survive this, great. If not, it's not a big deal. The only thing, we won't lose any resources because we don't have any left. So that's good for us. And yeah, this is going to be a pretty crazy fight. I'm definitely going to show it, even though more than likely I'm just going to probably just let myself die. But it's going to be pretty crazy. I'll go ahead and show off some of the stuff before we start, because it's going to get pretty crazy pretty fast. Butcher stats at level 1, he has 12 cards, 7 basic, 5 advanced, has a movement of 5 and a toughness of 9. He has Berserker, Fast Target, Infectious Lunacy, and Dreaded Trophies. Berserker allows him to draw an additional plus AI card every turn, so he acts twice around instead of just once. Go ahead and show that to players. Dreaded Trophies, he gets stronger with every kill. First kill makes it so all of his weapons all of his attacks cause bleed, if they originally didn't. The next one gives him additional speed and movement, and the last one gives him damage. Fast Target. At the beginning of every monster turn, he reshuffles the hit location deck, which is useful. And then finally, Infectious Lunacy is something that's going to be applied to every character. Every time any character takes brain damage, they get a Lunacy token, and if they get 3 Lunacy tokens, you remove them all and suffer Frenzy. This is actually sort of beneficial because, well, Frenzy is bad because you can't spend Survival or use special abilities, but you get +1 Strength token and +1 Speed token. And so you can definitely take advantage of that to, if you survive long enough, you can get enough frenzies to trigger that you'll eventually overwhelm him in return. But it's pretty tough. Okay, and that's pretty much the gist of it. So, I am the Depressed Eeyore, and this was Kingdom Death Monster. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys later.